Hello everybody, this is Mr. DeRoy Cruz, your Life Applications Officer, coming at you with another one. I hope my air conditioner isn't too loud. I moved over to this side of the house to get away from the sound. Hopefully it's not too loud, but I want to clear up some things. You know, I'm always clearing stuff up. I did two videos on culture clash, and I want to explain some things that I didn't say that should have been said in those two videos. So this is a commentary on those two videos. Alright, first up, again, let me go to black folks because they're my people. You can't point the finger at anybody until you point the finger at yourself. You can't point the finger at anybody until you point the finger at yourself. And so let me start off with my people. I don't think it was fair talking about culture clash. You know, this is going right along with the two videos that I did before this. I don't think it was fair. This is what I mean by culture clash. I don't think it was fair for Barack Obama to have gotten into office when he did because of the majority black vote. Because black folks are so bent on having a first black president that they don't care what they got to do to get him in office. And they said this. People like Steve Harvey said this. Jackson and what's the other politician's name that's always calling a race card? Jesse Jackson and I forget his name. But you got all these black people who, some of them were Republicans, and they chose to step away from, you know, their Republican stance for a minute just to get Obama in office. And it shows you how silly people can be. I'm not trying to put black people down, but nobody understood that when has the president ever been in complete control of this country in the first place? Two, he only gets what, 4 years? 4 or 5 years in office, and then he has to step down. And then you know what I'm saying? Like I said in many other videos, he was the president of the United States, not the president of black America. White people got just as much right to his behind as black folks do. It wasn't like he was going to say, okay, all you white people, y'all get over there and sit on the fence. I'm Barack Obama. I'm here for the black people. It wasn't like that, and it wasn't supposed to be like that. Okay? But I think it was just, you know, and so I've noticed a lot of white people get angry about that. I'm talking white Democrats as well as white Republicans. They got angry about that. And I had to hear about it because I'm not on the street. I'm not out here swagging. I work every day. I work around 95% white people every day. I had to hear about this nonsense. And they didn't come to me and say, oh, you niggers, or nothing like that. They came to me very, very sophisticatedly, and they said, hey, so all the black people wanted to vote for Obama. He got, you know, if it wasn't for you black people, you know, I'm talking about white Democrats. They said to me, they said, if it wasn't for you black people, we wouldn't have been able to get him in office. And I hope, well, and then this is what they said. Well, I hope he does okay. I like the guy. I hope he does okay. Okay? Black people should be happy. They wasn't happy, though. They wasn't happy. While Barack Obama was in office, black folks were not satisfied. They were not happy. Matter of fact, over half of us hated him. I know I didn't like him. I don't hate anybody, but I didn't like him. I didn't like him, you know, probably about a couple months after he got in office. I didn't really like him. And I didn't understand what all the commotion was about when he was trying to get in office, when he was running for the campaign. I said, who is this guy? Who is he? Who is he? You know, and all black people saw was brown skin. They didn't see nothing about him. And it wasn't until, you know, his second reign, after he made it through the second time, that a lot of black people started coming up and telling the truth about him and saying, you know, calling it what it was. And now that he is gone, now you got this new stuff coming up. The people that didn't care about him, now they're going to sit there and cry about him being gone. Like there ain't going to never ever again be another black president. Let me tell you something. If you don't like Donald Trump, you ain't going to like Benjamin Carson. Benjamin Carson's too much like me. I'm telling you, Benjamin Carson's too much like me. You don't like Donald Trump, you ain't going to like Benjamin Carson. Culture clash. And as far as politics go, what clashes is the fact that in this country, because we are the land of the free, and people throw that in our face constantly while they burn the flag. While they burn the flag and trample on the flag, they keep throwing it up in the president's and all the country leaders' faces that this is a free country. So, for example, Islam. Now, I spoke about the blacks. Let me show you something else that clashes that we don't know clashes. See, this is what I failed to say in the other two videos. You don't see the clashing. I do. This is what clashes. For example, the clash is more spiritual. For example, Islam. What do peaceful, secular, moderate, whatever kind of Muslims that you claim ain't got nothing to do with ISIS or got nothing to do with, you know, the Taliban or the Muslim Brotherhood, these peaceful, secular, moderate Muslims, what do they really want? Why are they here? Let's get to it, man. Have you ever asked a Muslim, what do you want in this country? And then when you get done asking them and you get them to tell the truth, not what you want to hear, the truth, then think about your kids and how you want your kids to grow up. Think about the freedom that you, as a white person or a black person, are used to. See, they took the Bible out of school. Separation from church and state. But then they got bombarded with Islam and their right to be free in this country. And so now you got Islam creeping into our public schools. You got children, white children, wearing the burqa, the hijab. You got neighborhoods that are geared to Muslims, neighborhoods that are geared to Asians. And I said before, you go to China, you don't get your own neighborhood. But you know, Japan owns half of Hawaii. Half of Hawaii is Japanese property. You got half of Hawaii is Japanese. You got Koreatown and other Asian towns. In Los Angeles, you got Chinatown. In every state in this planet, you got Chinatowns. I mean, you know, you got Chinatown, New York, you got Chinatown, Philadelphia, you got, you know, up here we don't call it Chinatown. We call it the Asian community. And then you got, you know, Indians and Palestinians and Arabs, and I have no problem with all these races being here, as I said before. My problem is everybody can't be free on their own brand of freedom in the same country. Everybody cannot be free with their own personal brand of freedom, all in the same country. It's a clash. Now you got atheists. They want this to be an atheist nation. They're saying it out of their own mouth. America's becoming more and more and more and more an atheist nation. And they're doing everything they can to destroy everything Christian. But they're having a little trouble with Muslims. They can't destroy everything Muslim because that's new. That is something that just recently started escalating over the course of this decade. And you don't see this. It's almost transparent, but it's there. It happens. And like I said in another video, when these, you know, I talked about the two muzzles, and when the angry muzzle, the muzzle of mayhem, the muzzle represents being muzzled for a time. When the muzzle of mayhem, okay, is open to mayhem in this country, the peaceful muzzle on the peaceful Jaguar, that muzzle's going to eventually come off too. And they're all going to show their true colors, and you're going to find out that they were all in this together. The only difference is one is violent and one benefits from the violent. One is violent, but one is benefiting from the violent. Okay? The Sunnis might benefit from the Shiites, or you know, the different forms of Muslims benefit from the other ones. Because eventually when you turn this country into big Saudi, okay, or America stand, okay, or whatever. I'm being comical, but you know, when you turn this into a slash Muslim nation, even a slash, okay, do you realize how many people in America, Donald Trump exposed it, but do you realize how many Arab people in America felt that September 11 was justified? While you got all these white people saying that you say anything against Muslims, you're a bigot. But there's Muslims that I ride the bus with every day. All we need to do is get out the table and the coffee and have a real conversation. See, we keep it transparent by nobody talking, and that's what I hate. Nobody's talking. Not in this country. Not in Pennsylvania. Not out here. But if you go to YouTube and you look at some of these videos, how did the black woman go off on the Muslim woman on the bus? Why did she go off on her? And I've seen some things. Sometimes, a lot of times, I'd say even almost most of the time, it is a black thing. It is black people's fault. But sometimes people come over here and they get real arrogant about their non-American ways in this free country. And freedom, it seems, is becoming a problem nowadays because everybody is trying to get freedom for so many different things. And it was never meant to be that way. The white folks of yesterday never thought that today, by this time today, there would be so many Muslims in America. They never thought that black folks would have to come up with Black Lives Matter way later. They never thought that, you know, race groups, hate groups like the KKK and skinheads and different groups would reunite and come back together and become bigger today than they were yesterday. Yesterday we were naturally segregated. And it was horrible for black folks. And it was very, 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 very violent for white folks. And it was somewhat the white way, which that is one thing about white people that I don't compliment them for. I'm always putting white people up here and black folks down here. That's one thing I don't pat white people on the back for, is segregation. Because if you're really, really, really going to put racism away, if you're really going to put your attitudes of bigotry and racism away, then we should all be living together and learning off of each other. But see, that's the thing about black folks. Black folks aren't willing to learn and be honest and say, hey, I'm going to listen to you because you know what you're doing. You're better than me. But you're not allowed to say that if you're black. You're not allowed to say that to a white person. You're not allowed to say, hey, you're better than me. You're not allowed to tell a white person, hey, you know what you're doing, so I'm going to listen to you. How do you do this again? You're not allowed to do that. It would be unblack. But all the black folks to get ahead in this country, got white people behind them. All the black folks that have gotten ahead in this country, even the ones that get up on stage and crack white jokes, they got white people standing behind them. You got black comedians getting up there telling white nasty jokes, and white people clap their hands. Oh no, Chris, that was funny, man. Chris Rock, you the man, that was funny. But you can't do that to black folks anymore. Now, years ago, they did that. And black folks looked at each other like, we got to find a way to stop this. They did that years ago. I have an old movie with Beyonce in it. It's called Dreamgirls. And it goes way back into the, 40s and 50s. Where white folks actually did get up on stage and tell black jokes. Like it was nothing. But see, white folks fought. They fight for everything. They fought until that mess was over. Until they shut that stuff up. Now today, they're allowed to do it. Black folks are allowed to get up on stage and say anything they want to about white folks. White folks can't do nothing about it. They've learned to become numb to it. They clap their hands. Everybody's laughing. Hey, honey, laugh. It's funny. I guess it's funny. I guess that was supposed to be funny. Go ahead and laugh. Even on the street, as I said in other videos, these Hebrew Israelites getting on the street, they got this poor white girl crying. They're telling her she ain't going to get into the kingdom of God. And she thought she was a good Christian. She thought she could go to these black people and they would show her how to connect with Jesus. And they told her, white people don't go to heaven. They're all going to hell. They're going to pay for what they did to our ancestors. See, that's when it clashes. See, that white girl that had to stand there and listen to Hebrew Israelites on a public street, on a corner, were white people. Because usually most of the leaders of this country are white. Most of the leaders of any city are white. White people are letting them stand on the corner and condemn white people. And they don't realize, these white people don't realize what they did to this girl. They made this girl, that girl's going to walk away, and eventually those tears of pain are when she was just trying to love black people. When she was just trying to make peace, and supposedly apologize as if she needs to do that in the first place. They scorned her like that. They scolded her like that. They ripped that poor girl. Eventually that's going to turn into hate. And the only thing black coming out of her mouth is going to be the word nigger. And it's going to be our fault. Because the hypocrites like them guys standing on the street. But this is what I mean about we can't allow everybody to have the same measure of freedom in the same country. What if the Hebrew Israelites weren't allowed to be on the street doing their propaganda because some white politician walked by and heard what they actually do on the street? Because some white cop actually walked by and actually heard what they do on the street. And he got together with the Republicans, the Democrats, whoever you think would actually do something about this nonsense. and he put a stop to it. That would necessarily wake up Jim Crow from the dead. That wouldn't necessarily bring slavery or bring the plantation days back into focus, now would it? But it would let black people know, okay, that you're either here to make peace, you're either here to fit in with the crowd, with the American system, the American way, or you ain't here. You might as well stay locked in your house. What about these Muslims? What about if you want to work in this hospital? You have to wear the appropriate clothing, just like all these white people do. Christians are just as so-called religious as you are. They don't have to, look like Halloween in order to come to work every day. This is a Christian nation anyway, or, Christianity is the central religion or whatever you want to call it. Okay? So, where do you get off coming in here feeling like you have to use your dress code to push your Islam on everybody? This is America. If it's that important to you that Allah sees your head covered, when we're used to this being a Christian nation, and this is all new to us, maybe you want to work and do this kind of work in Saudi Arabia. Because this is where it clashes, people. This is where it clashes. They come over here and they have to have their ways. See, I've tried a little bit to strike a conversation with this person and that person. I've had people come to me and see, I know for a fact that Muslims have opinions about Americans. I know they have opinions about Asians. And I know they have opinions about blacks. Everybody's got an opinion about blacks. Half of those opinions are our fault. But my point in hitting this one more time is, do you realize what you do to our country? When you allow everybody to have everything. Okay? And we say things to make ourselves, people say things to make us feel guilty, to make us give them their way. People protest and they block the street. The cops have to come, and there's riots, and people will do the extreme to get their way. Get their ways to what? They're not out there yelling for food. They're not yelling for milk for their baby. What are these protests about? Nobody's protesting for baby milk. Nobody's protesting for food. Nobody's protesting, okay, for fresh water. Something that you might really need that you can't live without. People are protesting to flash their sexual libido, their crazy fantasies into realities. And they don't want any interruption. People are protesting to get their rights over the rights of others. If culture wasn't clashing, okay, there would have been no reason to attack Trump supporters. If cultures were not clashing, there would be no reason for there to be protests for anything other than I'm starving. I'm about to die of starvation. Feed me. The water, we can't drink it. But I'm protesting why? Because I'm not happy being a male. And I didn't like the way some Democrat or some Republicans said he's going to deal with that. Like, that should be dealt with in politics anyway. But I'm not happy being a man. I'm not happy. I want to turn these right here into boobs. Saw a guy today. Transgender guy. First I thought it was the ugliest woman. I thought, man, that's the ugliest woman I've ever seen. Then I realized, because the cops had Bigelow Boulevard blocked off in Oakland, and I finally got a close-up look at this guy. Wasn't a woman, it was a guy. Yeah, here, what his face. With all this. Okay. You knew that these were surgically done, all this was man, he was trying to put a little feminism into it, but it wasn't working out for him. People are protesting their mental illness. They want to put their mental illness above everything and everybody else. If you're not happy with yourself, it has to be everybody else's problem. And nobody is, the gays don't do it, the transgender people don't do it. People, that want to legalize marijuana, the abortionists, nobody adds a moral standpoint to anything and says, well, I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. You know why you don't say that? Because you know it's not the right thing to do. And you think if you protest enough, if you scratch and kick and act like a baby about it, you'll get your way. Why? Because this isn't a Christian nation. And you have not registered with Jesus. So how do we help you? We can't just get you to surrender to Jesus after you've made decisions. After you done started kicking and screaming. That's why Christians are out on the street preaching the gospel, because we're trying to get to you before you make the decision to start kicking and screaming. Because once you start kicking and screaming, politics, the White House is not going to know what to do with you. Only Christ knows what to do with you. And so therefore, they have to find a way for you to get your way. And then next year, when you start kicking and screaming about something else, they have to find a way to get you your way. Nobody's willing to say, hold up, whoa. Excuse me. Have security, escort them out of the building, get them off the street, tell them to go home, okay? Or I will send them to a FEMA camp. Or I will have martial law step in and take care of this. Tell them to go home. And tell them not to put their hands on nobody doing it either. We ain't bringing that nonsense up in here. How far do we go? How far do we go in America before we say, that's not American? We don't do that nonsense here. How far? Where does it stop? What are we going to do next year? The next Democratic nominee. What are we going to do? Pressure him to legalize sex with animals? They've already done that in other countries. And America's becoming more everything except the stars and stripes. Where do we stop and say, hold up, stop. This is the United States of America. Where? When? Did you hear about the guy who went to the ball game and shot some Republicans at a Republican ball game? First of all, I'm trying to figure out, they got Republican ball games now? Or they got Democrats and Republicans having a Democrat ball game battle? I still don't understand the ball game in the first place. But this knucklehead went in there and made sure that the people he shot were Republicans. Okay? Then he killed himself. I guess you're going to tell me that was a Christian. No, I think he was an atheist Democrat is what I think he was. Don't come back after the story's done and over with, saying that, oh, see, it was the Christians that went out there and, we found out he wasn't a Democrat, he was a Republican, and he was a Christian. Don't come back later on lying about it, making up lying stories about it. That's what they do a lot lately, especially these atheists. They'll do anything to crush Christianity. Not religion. They just complain about religion. It's the Christians that they hate. That's another video, but still. Did you hear about that? This is what people will go through. This is the sickness that we have all mixed in one culture. And you don't see it coming until somebody gets shot. You don't see it coming until there's a terrorist attack. You don't see it coming until a bunch of Christians are dead. You don't see it coming until a bunch of Muslims are dead. You don't see it coming until, some things, like I said in the last video, happen over the police radar. Did you know that the biggest haters of homosexuals are cops? Did you know that some of the I wouldn't say haters, but did you know that the people who really have problems with homosexuals are cops? These are supposed to be the most nicest people in the world, these homosexuals. They're just like endangered species. They're like graceful does. But you go to a police radar and it's like, oh my God. Is that what that is? I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what that means. So they got to run down there and pull a gerbil out of somebody's, butthole. They got to go down there and break up an act of violence that happened between two gays. You would think that if you need to fight and scratch and scream to have your way, the last thing you should do, even if you're just being like everybody else, the last thing I want to hear is that there's violence in your little culture. There's rape in your culture. There's abuse of women and children, and abuse of your partner, domestic abuse in your culture. All that kicking and scratching, you better be better than everybody, in my opinion. But anyway, I'm closing. I'm signing off. Look. Jesus is the answer, as the song says, for the world today. Above him there is no other, for Jesus is the way. Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there is no other, for Jesus is the way. Jesus is the way, truth, and the life. Screw your religion. No man comes unto the Father except through him. That includes Muslims, that includes black folks, that includes white folks, that includes every race of this world. Heaven and earth will pass away, the Bible says. You worried about global warming. You worried about, not aging. Listen, heaven and earth will pass away, the Bible says. But my words, the word of God, will not pass away until every jot and tittle is fulfilled. That's what the word says. Heaven and earth will pass away. This world is going to be destroyed either way. Whether we destroy it from within and let it rot, or whether fire comes down from heaven, or the ozone layer just wipes us all out because it cracked, or whatever. This world is coming to an end. And you cannot please everybody. You think you're pleasing everybody. No, you're turning everybody against each other. Everybody's on their cell phone like this every day because nobody wants to talk to anybody. Because we all know you got a burqa on. I'm just an average black guy. So I say hello. I remember the day when people used to get on the bus and talk. I remember the day when something went down, everybody walked over to that side of the street, and everybody in the neighborhood was talking. Everybody in 3 neighborhoods was talking. Hey, we were from over this neighborhood over here. We just come down here to see what's going on. Oh, poor guy. I hope he's okay. Not today. I walked into the store today. I seen 3 black men in there. Arabian girl behind the counter. They was in there acting like their typical old 2017 black selves. I looked at them and I shook my head. I made sure they didn't see me. I said to myself, real silently, I said, not my culture. Not my culture. Sorry, it's not my culture. What were they doing? Acting very non-American is what they were doing. Okay? They were dressed inappropriately. They were talking like they don't understand basic English when their ancestors have been in this country forever. Then they were saying some stuff that ain't got nothing to do with reality. Not my culture. Thanks for watching. My time's out. I will talk to you soon. Hopefully I won't have to do another 4 of this video. But if the Lord gives me more things, I'll have to do a part 4. So, God bless you. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment. Ask a question. I'd love for ideas for more videos. Thank you very much.